the office door slammed shut. Evelyn Hart stood there, her hand still gripping the wrist of the man her entire company knew only as her single dad assistant. Her eyes held no coldness, no power, only confusion and a longing she had suppressed for far too long. "Last night, you were with me, weren't you?" He avoided her gaze, his voice calm as always. But she did not let go. She drew a deep breath, losing control for the first time, and whispered, "Can we date?" He said nothing, and that silence was the most terrifying thing of all. Evelyn Hart did not believe in losing control. She had built her empire on precision, discipline, and the kind of cold clarity that made grown men hesitate before walking into her office. At 34, she ran a tech conglomerate worth over $3 billion. Her schedule was measured in 15-minute increments. Her wardrobe consisted of tailored suits in shades of black, charcoal, and navy. She did not drink coffee with sugar. She did not take vacations. She certainly did not get drunk at company events. But tonight was different. The annual gala celebrating Hart Industries' 15th anniversary filled the ballroom of the Sinclair Hotel with 200 employees, investors, and business partners. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in white linen. Champagne flowed freely. Evelyn had given her speech at 8 o'clock sharp, thanking her team with the same measured tone she used in board meetings. Applause followed. Cameras flashed. She smiled the way she always smiled, polite, composed, empty. Then someone handed her a glass of champagne, then another. She could not remember who or why she kept accepting them. Perhaps it was the weight of pretending everything was fine when the merger talks with Quantum Tech had collapsed that morning. Perhaps it was the exhaustion of being Evelyn Hart every single day without pause. By 11 o'clock, the room had started tilting slightly to the left. Michael Carter noticed before anyone else did. He always noticed. As her executive assistant for the past 2 years, he had learned to read the subtle shifts in her posture, the tightness around her eyes when she was annoyed, the way her fingers drummed against her thigh when she was thinking 3 steps ahead. Tonight, he saw her reach for the table to steady herself. He saw her blink too slowly. He moved through the crowd without drawing attention, the way he always did. "Ms. Borfer, Hart," Michael said quietly, appearing at her side as she attempted to set down her glass and nearly missed the table. "I think it might be time to call it a night." Evelyn turned to look at him. Her vision blurred slightly at the edges, but she could still make out his features. The dark hair he kept neatly combed, the steady eyes that never showed surprise, the composed expression he wore like armor. Michael was 41, divorced, and the father of a 7-year-old daughter named Sophie. Evelyn knew these facts the way she knew the quarterly revenue reports. They were data points, nothing more. "I am fine," Evelyn said, her words coming out slower than she intended. She tried to straighten her shoulders, but found the effort more difficult than it should have been. Michael did not argue. He never argued. He simply nodded and said, "Of course, but your car is ready whenever you need it." She wanted to refuse. She wanted to prove she could walk out of this ballroom on her own, return to her penthouse, and wake up tomorrow as sharp as ever. But when she took a step forward, her heel caught on the edge of the carpet. Michael's hand was there instantly, steadying her elbow with a grip that was firm but not intrusive. "Let me help you to the car," he said. It wasn't a question. Evelyn looked around the ballroom. Most guests were engaged in conversation, their attention elsewhere. The executives who mattered had already left. She calculated the risk of being seen like this versus the certainty of embarrassing herself further if she insisted on staying. Logic won. "Fine," she said. Michael guided her through a side exit, avoiding the main doors where photographers might still be lingering. The night air hit her face, cold and sharp. She inhaled deeply, trying to clear her head. but the alcohol had already settled into her bloodstream. The world felt softer than it should, edges blurred, sounds muffled. The car was waiting. Michael opened the door and helped her inside, his movements efficient and impersonal. He slid into the driver's seat and started the engine without a word. Evelyn leaned her head against the window, watching the city lights blur past. She should have felt humiliated. She should have been running through damage control scenarios in her mind. Instead, she felt tired in a way that had nothing to do with the late hour. They reached her building in less than 20 minutes. The doorman greeted them with a nod, his expression betraying no surprise at seeing Evelyn return in this state with her assistant. Michael thanked him and guided her to the elevator. Evelyn fumbled with her key card. Michael took it gently from her hand and swiped it himself. Her penthouse occupied the entire top floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. The decor was minimalist. White walls, black furniture, no photographs, no personal touches. It looked like a hotel suite designed for someone who never stayed long enough to care. Michael had been here before, dropping off files or picking up documents she needed to review overnight. He knew where the kitchen was, where she kept her medication for migraines, which lights to turn on so she would not trip in the dark. He walked her to the bedroom. Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed, her hands resting in her lap. She looked smaller somehow, less like the woman who commanded boardrooms, and more like someone who had simply had too much to drink. "You should get some rest," Michael said. He moved to leave, but her voice stopped him. "Can you stay with me tonight?" The words came out soft, almost fragile. Michael turned back. Evelyn was looking at him with an expression he had never seen before, something raw and unguarded. She was not asking him to stay for any reason that made sense. She was asking because she did not want to be alone. Michael stood in the doorway, his hand still on the frame. He thought about his daughter, who was spending the night at her mother's house. He thought about the boundaries he had carefully maintained for 2 years. He thought about the way Evelyn looked at him now, like she might break if he walked away. "I will stay for a while," he said finally, "just to make sure you are all right." Evelyn nodded. She lay back on the bed, still fully dressed in her black evening gown. Michael pulled a chair from the corner of the room and sat near the door, far enough to maintain distance, but close enough to respond if she needed help. He watched as her breathing slowed, as her eyes closed, as she drifted into sleep. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the city below. Michael sat there for over an hour, making sure she was stable, making sure she would not wake up disoriented or sick. When he was certain she was safe, he stood to leave. But as he moved toward the door, something slipped from his jacket pocket. A photograph, old and creased, landed face up on the nightstand. He stared at it for a moment, then picked it up. It showed 2 people standing in front of a university library, a younger version of himself and a girl with long dark hair and a cautious smile. The girl was Evelyn, though she looked nothing like the woman who now ran a billion-dollar empire. He had kept the photograph for years, tucked away in his wallet, never quite able to throw it out. Seeing her again after so long, working beside her every day without her recognizing him, had been harder than he expected. But she had moved on. She had become someone else. And he had a daughter to think about, a life that did not leave room for nostalgia. Michael set the photograph on the nightstand. Then he pulled a small notepad from his pocket and wrote a single sentence. He placed the note beside the photograph and left the room without looking back. The penthouse door closed softly behind him. The city stretched out below, vast and indifferent. Michael walked to his car and drove home, wondering if she would remember any of this when she woke up, wondering if it would have been better if he had never stayed at all. Evelyn woke to sunlight cutting through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Her head throbbed with a dull, persistent ache. She opened her eyes slowly, trying to piece together how she had ended up in her bed, still wearing last night's gown. The fabric was wrinkled and uncomfortable against her skin. She sat up carefully, the room spinning slightly before settling into focus. The gala came back in fragments. The champagne, Michael's hand on her elbow. The car ride home. After that, darkness. She did not remember walking to her bedroom. She did not remember lying down. The gaps in her memory unsettled her more than the hangover. Evelyn stood and moved toward the bathroom, intending to wash her face and start the damage control she knew would be necessary. But something on the nightstand caught her eye. A photograph, old and faded, lying face up beside a folded piece of paper. She stopped. She had never seen that photograph before. Or had she? She picked it up with unsteady fingers. The image showed two people standing in front of a brick building she recognized immediately, the university library, where she had spent countless hours during her undergraduate years. The boy in the photograph wore a plain gray sweater and jeans, his hair slightly messy, his expression serious but kind. The girl beside him had long dark hair and wore a cautious smile that did not quite reach her eyes. The girl was her. Younger, softer, less certain of herself. She stared at the photograph, trying to place the boy standing next to her. His face seemed familiar in a way that made her chest tighten. She turned the photograph over. On the back, written in faded ink, were two words: Spring, 2006. 2006. She had been 20 years old, a junior studying business administration, already planning the empire she would build. She remembered the library, the late nights, the pressure to prove herself. But the boy in the photograph remained just out of reach, a shape she could not quite pull into focus. Evelyn set the photograph down and picked up the folded piece of paper. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. The handwriting was neat and deliberate, the kind that came from someone who chose their words carefully. I stayed until I was sure you were safe. You asked me to stay with you tonight, but I could not. Not like this. Not when you would not remember. Take care of yourself, Evelyn. No signature, no explanation. Just those few sentences and the use of her first name, which almost no one used anymore. She read the note 3 times, trying to understand who had written it. The answer was obvious, but her mind refused to accept it. Michael had brought her home. Michael had stayed. Michael had left this photograph and this note. But why would Michael have a photograph of her from college? Why would he have kept it all these years? And why did the boy in that photograph look so much like him? Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed, holding both items in her hands. Her headache had faded into the background, replaced by a different kind of discomfort. She forced herself to think back to 2006, to the people she had known, the fleeting connections she had made before focusing entirely on her studies and her future. There had been a boy. She remembered now. He had worked part-time at the library, shelving books and helping students find research materials. They had talked sometimes, brief conversations while she waited for a computer or searched for a specific title. He had been kind in a quiet way, never intrusive, never demanding her attention. She had noticed him, though she never admitted it to anyone, not even herself. His name had been Michael. Michael Carter. The realization hit her like cold water. The same Michael who now organized her schedule, answered her emails, and maintained the professional distance she demanded from everyone around her. The same Michael who had brought her home last night and left without explanation. How had she not recognized him? She stared at the photograph again, comparing the boy in the image to the man she worked with every day. The features were the same, just older, more defined. The serious expression had not changed, but she had been so focused on building her empire, so determined to leave her past behind, that she had stopped seeing the people right in front of her. Evelyn stood abruptly, the photograph still clutched in her hand. She needed to know why he had never said anything. She needed to understand what this meant. But more than that, she needed to regain the control that had slipped through her fingers the moment she woke up and found evidence of a past she had buried so deep she had forgotten it existed. She showered quickly, dressed in a charcoal suit, and left for the office earlier than usual. The city was still waking up, traffic light, the streets not yet crowded. She sat in the back of her car and stared at the photograph, trying to reconcile the boy she had known with the man who now worked for her. They were the same person, yet she had not recognized him. Or perhaps she had chosen not to see. By the time she arrived at Hart Industries, her composure had returned. She walked through the lobby with her usual brisk stride, nodding to the security guard, ignoring the few employees who had arrived early. She took the private elevator to the executive floor and went straight to her office. Michael was already there. He stood near her desk, reviewing a stack of documents she had left for him the day before. He looked the same as always, a pressed white shirt, dark slacks, focused and composed. When he heard her enter, he glanced up and offered a polite nod. "Good morning, Ms. Hart," Michael said. His voice held no trace of the previous night, no acknowledgement of what had happened, no explanation. Evelyn set her bag down and studied him. She wanted to demand answers immediately, to confront him about the photograph and the note. But something stopped her. She realized she did not know how to begin that conversation without revealing how much the discovery had shaken her. "Good morning," Evelyn replied, keeping her tone neutral. She moved behind her desk and opened her laptop, pretending to check her emails. Michael returned his attention to the documents in his hands. The silence stretched between them, heavier than usual. Evelyn glanced at him from the corner of her eye. He gave no indication that anything had changed. His expression remained professional, his posture relaxed, but attentive. It was as if last night had never happened. "Your schedule for today," Michael said, breaking the silence. He placed a printed itinerary on her desk. "You have a conference call with the board at 9, lunch meeting with the investors from Horizon Capital at noon, and the quarterly review presentation at 3. Evelyn scanned the schedule without really reading it. Her mind was still on the photograph, on the note, on the question she could not bring herself to ask. "Thank you," she said. Michael nodded and turned to leave. Before she could stop herself, she spoke again. "Did you bring me home last night?" Michael stopped near the door. He did not turn around immediately. When he did, his expression was carefully neutral. "Yes," he said simply. Evelyn waited for him to elaborate. He did not. The silence returned, and this time it felt deliberate, as if he were testing her, waiting to see how much she would push. "I do not remember much after leaving the gala," Evelyn admitted, the words coming out more vulnerable than she intended. "Did I say anything?" Michael looked at her directly. For a moment, she thought she saw something shift behind his expression, a flicker of emotion he quickly suppressed. "You asked me to stay with you tonight," he said quietly. "I stayed until I was sure you were safe. Then I left." The phrase echoed the note he had written. Evelyn felt her pulse quicken. She wanted to ask about the photograph, about why he had kept it, about whether he remembered her from college. But the words stuck in her throat. "Thank you," she said instead, "for making sure I got home safely." Michael nodded. "Of course." He did not move to leave. The air between them felt charged with unspoken questions. Evelyn reached into her bag and pulled out the photograph. She placed it on the desk between them. Michael's reaction was subtle but unmistakable. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "You left this," Evelyn said. It was not a question. Michael looked at the photograph for a long moment. Then he met her eyes. "I did not mean to," he said. "It fell from my pocket." "Why do you have a picture of us from college?" The question hung in the air. Michael did not answer right away. He seemed to be choosing his words carefully. the same way he always did. "Because I kept it," he said finally. "I worked at the university library. You came in often. We talked sometimes. I do not know if you remember." Evelyn felt something twist in her chest. She did remember, now that he had said it. She remembered the quiet boy who had always seemed to be there when she needed help finding a book or navigating the cataloging system. She remembered thinking he was kind. She remembered wondering, briefly, what it would be like to know him better. But she had been too focused on her future, too determined to prove herself, to let anyone get close. "I remember," Evelyn said softly. "But I did not recognize you when you started working here." "I know," Michael said. "I did not expect you to. It was a long time ago. And you have changed." The words should have been neutral, but they carried weight. Evelyn understood what he wasn't saying. She had changed. She had become someone who did not look back, who did not allow herself the luxury of nostalgia or regret. She had built walls so high that she could not see the people standing right in front of her. "Why did you not say anything?" Evelyn asked. "When you applied for this job, when you started working for me, why did you never mention that we knew each other?" Michael considered the question. "Because it did not matter. You needed an assistant. I needed a job. What happened years ago had nothing to do with that." "But you kept the photograph." "Yes," Michael admitted. "I kept it. That does not mean I expected anything from you. It just meant I wasn't ready to throw it away." Evelyn looked down at the photograph again. The two people in that image felt like strangers now. She had spent so long becoming Evelyn Hart, CEO and billionaire, that she had forgotten who she had been before. And Michael had been there, quietly watching, never asking for recognition. "I need to prepare for the board call," Evelyn said, her voice steadier now. She did not know what else to say. The conversation had veered into territory she was not equipped to navigate. Michael nodded. He reached for the photograph, but Evelyn placed her hand over it. "I will keep this," she said. "If you do not mind." Michael looked at her hand on the photograph, then at her face. Something passed between them, a wordless acknowledgement of the years that had gone by and the distance that still remained. "All right," Michael said. He turned and left the office, closing the door quietly behind him. Evelyn sat alone, staring at the photograph. She traced the edge of it with her finger, trying to remember what it had felt like to be that girl who smiled cautiously at the camera. She thought about the boy who had stood beside her, who had kept this photograph all these years, who had brought her home last night and left without asking for anything in return. For the first time in a very long time, Evelyn felt something she could not control. It was not power or ambition or the cold satisfaction of closing a deal. It was something softer, more dangerous. It was the realization that she had let someone slip away once, and now he was standing just out of reach, close enough to see, but too far to touch. She did not know what to do with that feeling. So she did what she always did. She placed the photograph in her desk drawer, closed it firmly, and turned her attention to the work waiting for her. But the image stayed with her, a ghost lingering at the edges of her carefully controlled world. The rest of the day passed in a blur of meetings and decisions that required Evelyn's full attention, yet she could not shake the weight of the photograph sitting in her desk drawer. She participated in the board call with her usual precision, fielded questions from the Horizon Capital investors over lunch, and delivered the quarterly review presentation without missing a beat. But underneath the performance, her mind kept returning to Michael's steady expression when he admitted he had kept that photograph all these years. By the time the last meeting ended, the office had emptied. The sun was setting behind the skyline, casting long shadows across the floor. Evelyn sat at her desk, staring at the closed drawer. She had spent the entire day avoiding what she knew she needed to do. She needed to talk to Michael again, not as his employer, but as someone who owed him an honest conversation. She stood and walked to the door of her office. Through the glass wall, she could see Michael at his desk in the outer office, typing something on his computer. His desk lamp was the only light still on in that section of the floor. He always stayed late, never complaining, never asking for acknowledgement. She had taken that dedication for granted. Evelyn opened the door. The sound made Michael look up. He closed his laptop immediately and stood, already shifting into the role of assistant, ready to fulfill whatever task she required. "Do you need something, Ms. Hart?" he asked. Evelyn shook her head. She walked toward his desk, her footsteps echoing in the empty office. When she reached him, she did not speak right away. She looked at him instead, really looked at him, trying to see past the professional facade he maintained so carefully. "Come inside," Evelyn said finally. "I need to talk to you." Michael followed her into the office. She closed the door behind them, something she rarely did unless a conversation involved confidential business matters. But this was not about business. This was something else entirely. Evelyn gestured for him to sit, but he remained standing. She realized he was maintaining the boundary between them even now, the line that separated employee from employer. She wanted to tell him to sit, to relax, to stop treating her like someone who needed to be managed. But she did not have the right to ask that of him. "About this morning," Evelyn began. She found herself struggling to organize her thoughts, something that almost never happened. "About the photograph. I have been thinking about it all day." Michael waited. He did not interrupt, did not try to fill the silence. That was one of the things she had always appreciated about him, his ability to listen without rushing to respond. "I remember you now," Evelyn continued, "from the library. You helped me find a book on corporate finance once. I was working on a paper about mergers and acquisitions. You spent 20 minutes searching the stacks with me until we found it." "I remember," Michael said quietly. "Why did you not say anything when you applied to work here?" The question came out sharper than she intended. "Why did you let me hire you without telling me we knew each other?" Michael met her gaze directly. "Because it would not have mattered to you. You were looking for someone competent, someone who could manage your schedule and handle the demands of this job. My being someone you spoke to a few times over a decade ago would not have changed whether I was qualified. But it matters now," Evelyn said. She took a step closer to him. "It matters because you stayed with me last night. It matters because you left that photograph. It matters because I feel like I am standing in a room where everyone else can see something I cannot." Michael was silent for a moment. Then he said, "What do you want me to tell you?" "The truth," Evelyn said. "Why did you keep that photograph? Why did you apply to work for me? And why did you stay last night when you could have just called a car service and left?" Michael looked down at his hands. When he spoke, his voice was low but clear. "I kept the photograph because I was not ready to let go of the person I was back then. The person who thought maybe if I talked to you enough, you might notice me as more than just the guy who worked at the library. But you were focused on your future. You had plans. And I understood that. So I never said anything." Evelyn felt something tighten in her chest. She had been so single-minded in those years, so determined to build the life she wanted, that she had not seen what was right in front of her. "When I saw your company was hiring," Michael continued, "I applied because I needed a job. My marriage had just ended. I had full custody of my daughter. I needed stability. I did not expect you to remember me. And when you did not, I thought it was better that way. It meant I could do my job without complicating things." "And last night?" Evelyn asked. Her voice was quieter now. "Last night you asked me to stay. You were vulnerable. You needed someone to make sure you were safe. I stayed because I could not walk away from that. Not from you." Michael finally looked up at her. "But I left because staying longer would have been wrong." You were not in a position to make decisions, and I was not going to take advantage of that. The honesty in his words cut through her. Evelyn realized that Michael had been protecting her, not just last night, but for the past 2 years. He had maintained the professional distance she demanded while carrying the weight of a past she had forgotten. And he had never asked for anything in return. "I do not know what to say," Evelyn admitted. She felt exposed in a way she had not felt in years. "I spent so long building this life, this company, that I forgot there were people I left behind. I forgot there were choices I did not make." "You did not leave me behind," Michael said. "We were never anything more than two people who talked sometimes. You do not owe me an apology for living your life." "But what if I want to?" The words came out before Evelyn could stop them. She saw Michael's expression shift, surprise breaking through the composed exterior. "What if I want to go back and choose differently?" Michael shook his head slowly. "You cannot go back. Neither of us can. We are different people now. You are not the girl who spent hours in the library. And I am not the boy who shelved books and hoped you might notice him." "Then who are we now?" Evelyn asked. She took another step closer. They were standing less than 2 feet apart now, close enough that she could see the faint lines at the corners of his eyes, the way his jaw tensed when he was holding something back. "I am a single father who works for you," Michael said, "and you are my employer. That is all we can be." "Is it?" Evelyn reached out and placed her hand on his arm. He did not pull away, but she felt him go still under her touch. "Because I do not think that is all we are. Not anymore." Michael looked down at her hand on his arm, then back at her face. "What are you asking me, Evelyn?" It was the first time he had used her first name since that morning. The sound of it, spoken in his steady voice, made her heart beat faster. "Can we date?" The question came out raw and unpolished, nothing like the carefully constructed sentences she used in negotiations. "Can we try to see if there is something here worth exploring?" The silence that followed felt endless. Michael did not move. He did not speak. He just looked at her with an expression she could not read. "I have a daughter," he said finally. "She is 7 years old. She comes first. Always. If I start something with you, it cannot be casual. It cannot be something you try and then walk away from when it gets complicated. Because she will see it. She will feel it. And I will not put her through that." "I understand," Evelyn said. But even as she spoke, she wondered if she really did. She had no experience with children. No frame of reference for the kind of responsibility Michael carried every day. "Do you?" Michael asked. His voice was gentle but firm. "Because you live in a world where you control everything, where you make decisions and people follow them. But you cannot control this. You cannot control how my daughter will react. You cannot control whether this works. And you cannot control the fact that if we start this, I need it to be real. Not an experiment. Not a way to fix something you think you missed out on." Evelyn let her hand fall from his arm. His words stung, but they were fair. She had approached this the way she approached everything else, as a problem to be solved, a goal to be achieved. But Michael was not a business deal. He was a person with his own life, his own responsibilities, his own fears. "You are right," Evelyn said. "I cannot promise I will be good at this. I cannot promise I will not make mistakes. But I can promise that if I start something with you, I will not walk away just because it is hard. I have spent my entire life running toward the next goal, the next achievement. Maybe it is time I stopped running and stayed still long enough to see what I have been missing." Michael studied her face. She could see him weighing her words, deciding whether to believe her. The vulnerability she felt in that moment was unlike anything she had experienced in a boardroom or a negotiation. This was not about power or control. This was about trust. If we do this, Michael said slowly, we do it right. That means taking it slow. That means not rushing into something just because we have history. That means being honest with each other, even when it is uncomfortable. And it means understanding that my daughter is part of this. If you cannot handle that, then we should not start. Evelyn nodded. I understand, and I want to try. Not because I think I can fix the past, but because I think there might be something here worth building. Michael looked at her for a long moment. Then he took a small step back, creating distance between them. I need time to think about this. I need to make sure I am making the right decision. Not just for me, but for Sophie. Sophie, the name of his daughter. Evelyn realized she had never asked about her before, had never inquired about Michael's life outside of work. That would have to change if she wanted this to be real. Take all the time you need, Evelyn said. I'm not going anywhere. Michael nodded. He moved toward the door, then stopped and turned back. For what it is worth, I never stopped thinking about you, even after all these years, even when I told myself it did not matter. But thinking about someone and building a life with them are two very different things. I know, Evelyn said softly. Michael left the office, closing the door behind him. Evelyn stood alone in the dimming light, watching through the glass as he gathered his things and walked toward the elevator. She did not try to stop him. She did not call him back. She simply watched him go, understanding that some things could not be rushed, some decisions could not be forced. She returned to her desk and opened the drawer where she had placed the photograph. The two young people in that image looked back at her, frozen in a moment that had passed long ago. She wondered if they would have recognized the people she and Michael had become. She wondered if they would have been proud or disappointed. Evelyn placed the photograph back in the drawer and closed it gently. Then she turned off the lights and left the office, stepping out into the city that never stopped moving, never stopped demanding more. But for the first time in a very long time, she was not thinking about the next deal or the next goal. She was thinking about a man who had stayed with her when she needed him and left before she could make a mistake. She was thinking about a choice she had not made years ago and the chance, however uncertain, to make a different choice. Now. Some people come into our lives at the right time, but in the wrong season. We meet them when we are too focused on the horizon to see what stands right in front of us. We pass them by, convinced that ambition and success will fill every empty space, only to discover years later that the spaces remain. Evelyn Hart had everything she thought she wanted: power, wealth, control. But control is an illusion when it comes to matters of the heart. You cannot schedule vulnerability into 15-minute increments. You cannot negotiate your way into intimacy. And you cannot build something real with another person if you are unwilling to let go of the image you have constructed of yourself. Michael Carter understood something Evelyn was only beginning to learn: that love is not about fixing past mistakes or reclaiming lost opportunities. It is about showing up as the person you are now, flaws and all, and trusting that someone else will do the same. It is about choosing not just a partner, but the life that comes with them, the messy, complicated, beautiful reality of it. The hardest lesson is this: some things cannot be bought, negotiated, or controlled. Some things can only be earned through patience, honesty, and the courage to be vulnerable. Evelyn had spent her entire life running toward the next achievement, never stopping long enough to ask what she was running from. Now she stood at a crossroads, faced with a choice that had no guaranteed outcome, no clear strategy, no way to ensure success. She could wait. She could hope. She could trust that Michael would come back when he was ready. Or she could do what she had always done, move forward alone, convincing herself that control was better than risk. But this time, for the first time, she chose to wait. And sometimes, waiting is the bravest choice of all.